Metals and non-metals. You are familiar with a number of materials like iron, aluminum, copper, etc. Some materials have been given in table 4.1. Like these are elements, so it is calling it materials. Iron, coal, sulfur, aluminum and copper are some of the materials, so that we use in our day-to-day life, common materials. Can you name the materials which are metals? Now it is trying to classify it. What are the metals here? The rest of the materials in table 4.1 are non-metals. So after this, metals can be distinguished from non-metals on the basis of their physical and chemical properties. We call that luster. Yeah. Luster means something that shines, so it can be classified by some physical properties like its hardness, its luster. Okay, so we can see here, we call that luster and hardness are physical properties of any material. So physical and chemical properties are the two parameters where we can check if something is metal or something is non-metal, and luster is and hardness as physical properties to see. So physical properties of metals and non-metals are discussed here. Have you ever seen a blacksmith beating an iron piece on an article made up of iron like spade, a shovel and axe? So the blacksmith will hammer the molten or heated iron. So do you find a change in the shape of these articles on beating? Yes, it can be given a shape on beating, because see, here is the example of nail and hammer. So if nail is not straight, we can hammer it to make it straight, and it will be also given some other shapes also. It can be hammered hard to make it flat also. So do you find a change in the shape of these articles on beating? Would you expect a similar change if we try to beat a piece of coal? Let us find out. We cannot do that with coal because coal will break. So that means metal can be beaten up into thin sheets, but non-metal cannot be beaten into thin sheets. Okay. So take a small iron nail, a coal piece, a piece of thick aluminum wire and a pencil lead. Beat the iron nail with a hammer, but take care you don't hurt yourself in the process. Try to hit hard, the aluminum wire also. Then repeat the same kind of treatment on the coal piece and pencil lead. Record your observations in table 4.2. So iron can be beaten into thin sheet, and coal pieces will break upon beating. Aluminum wire also can be drawn to thinner wires by beating or hammering, and pencil lead will also break. So these are our observations. So now you saw that the shape of the iron nail and the aluminum wire changed on beating. If they were beaten harder, this could be changed into sheets. You might be familiar with silver foil used for decorating sweets. You must also be familiar with the aluminum foil used for wrapping food. So these are beaten into very thin sheets, so it can be used for several purposes. Aluminum foil is used to wrap the food materials also. This is the property of metals by which they can be beaten into thin sheet is called malleability. So definition of malleability is here. So the property of metal to be beaten into thin sheets is called malleability. The property of metal by which they can be beaten into thin sheets is called malleability. Correct. So definition can come. This is a characteristic property of metals. As you must have noticed, materials like coal and pencil lead do not show this property. Okay, so it breaks. When we will hit with hammer, coal will break. The pencil also, forget hammer, if you press it hard, it breaks. Okay, so can we call these metals? No, we cannot call it metals. These are not metals. Pencil, lead and coal are not metals. Can you hold a hot metallic pan which is without a plastic or a wooden handle and not get hurt? So it will burn. Okay, so plastic handle or wooden handle are given. Yes, you cannot hold. Okay, you cannot. Yes, so it will become very hot. and if you will touch it, it can burn. So you will not touch that hot metallic pan. You cannot touch without proper some clothes are needed, or if it is some handle is given you, wooden handle or plastic handle, then you can touch the handle. Perhaps not. Why? Try to list some other experiences in which a wooden or plastic handle protects you from being hurt while handling not while handling hot things. So there are various utensils which are provided with plastics and wooden handle to protect ourselves. On the basis of these experiences, what can you say about the conduction of heat by wood and plastics? Actually, wood and plastics are bad conductors. Okay, so it will not allow the heat to pass through it and it will not hurt you. But metals are good conductors, so it can hurt. It can burn the fingers. So you must have seen an electrician using his screwdriver. What kind of handle does it have? Why? So screwdriver also have plastic handles. So it is not a good conductor. So it will not give him a electric shock. It will save him from electric while doing the electric works. It can save him from the electric current while he is doing the electric work. So let us find out few things. Activity. So it is for the conductivity of the metal. Okay, so iron rod, nail, good conductor, sulfur, bad conductor, coal, bad conductor, copper wire, good conductor. Okay, so if it is good conductor for electricity, it is good conductor for heat also. So you observe that iron rod, nail and copper wire are good conductors, while rolled sulfur piece and coal piece are poor conductors. Now, where do you find the use of aluminum and copper wires? Have you seen wires of coal? Definitely not. It is saying that the metals are used to make wires because metals are good conductors, and non-metals like plastics, rubbers are coated on metals to for safety, so that it will not be touched, it will not be exposed to people. The wires cannot be exposed to the people, so it is covered with plastic. The property of metal by which it can be drawn into wires is called ductility. So the property of metal to be beaten up into thin sheets or drawn into wires, thin wires. Thin sheets is malleability. Sorry, that was there. Malleability was to beat it up into thin sheet. Now it is ductility. So ductility means to make it into thin wires. Property of metal by which it can be drawn into thin wires is called ductility. Have you ever noticed the difference in sound on dropping an iron sheet plate or a metal coin and a piece of coal on the floor? Yeah, this we have seen knowingly or unknowingly. Like in playground, we throw stones or grass or leaves. Okay, so it doesn't make that sound. Or duster, chalk sometimes fall, or pen, pencil fall on the floor. So it doesn't make that sound what a metal plates or a spoon or ball makes. Okay, or a coin makes. That we all know. When a plate will fall, it is sonorous. Okay, so the sound is different, very much different from when a rock falls or a stone falls. It is different from that sound. Or when a piece of coal falls on the floor. If you have not done it, then try it now. It is same. So sounds will be different. So do you note any difference in the sound produced? Yes. So have you seen wooden bells in temples? Can you guess a reason the things made of metals produce a ringing sound when struck hard? Okay. So the thing made of metals produce a ringing sound when struck hard. Like घंटी जैसे हम लोग देख लेते हैं, तो made of metals. When it is struck with something, it will make a sound. Suppose you have two boxes similar in appearance, one made of wood and the other made of metal. Can you tell which box is made of metal by striking both the boxes? We can find out. If cupboard is made of iron sheets or it is made of wooden boards, we can find it out. So by making sound also with our hand, that which is metal and which is wood. So the metals makes different sound, and that property of metal is called sonorous. So since metal produce ringing sounds, they are said to be sonorous. Okay, so why it is sonorous? Because metal produces ringing sounds. So it is called sonorous. What is sonorous? Sonorous is the property of metal of producing ringing sounds. Okay, so all metals are sonorous. The materials other than metals are not sonorous. So it means non-metals are not sonorous. After performing the above activities, we can say that some materials are hard, lustrous, malleable, ductile, sonorous, and good conductors of heat and electricity. The materials which generally possess these properties are called metals. The examples of metals are iron, copper, aluminum, calcium, magnesium, etc. So these are the examples of metals that you should know. In contrast, materials like coal and sulfur are soft and dull in appearance. They break down into a powdery mass on tapping with a hammer. They are not sonorous and are poor conductors of heat and electricity. These materials are called non-metals. Okay. These examples of non-metals are sulfur, carbon, oxygen, phosphorus, etc. Metals like sodium and potassium are soft and can be cut with a knife. Mercury is the only metal which is found in liquid state at room temperature. These are exceptions. So even though metals have some common properties, there are some exceptions to it. Sodium, potassium are the example. It can be cut with knife easily, and mercury is liquid at room temperature, so it will fall on the ground and it will get a shape of ball, small balls, shiny ball. So chemical properties of metals and non-metals. So reaction with oxygen. You are familiar with the phenomena of rusting of iron. Rusting of iron is a common phenomena. It can be seen everywhere. You can see on the gate, or when the boundary is there with the wires, you can see the iron wires got rusted. It get rusted very easily when it is exposed to air and water. It get rusted. And if the nails also at home also, if it is kept for long, it will be rusted. So it is a property of iron to get rusted. Recall the reaction by which rust is formed. So we know iron react with water and air, basically the oxygen in air, to get rusted. Okay. So you had also performed in class 7 an activity of burning a magnesium ribbon in air. You had learned that in both the processes oxide formation takes place. So oxide will form when oxygen is burned. Metal oxide will form when the metal react with oxygen, it will form oxides. So complete the following reaction of iron and magnesium with oxygen. So iron is here, oxygen is here, and water is here. So magnesium, okay, so complete the reaction. It will form iron oxide. So Fe2O3, like that it will form. Ferric oxide it will form. Now it says here, now recall the activity of burning the magnesium ribbon. The ash obtained on burning magnesium ribbon is dissolved in water. The ash obtained on burning magnesium ribbon is dissolved in water and tested for its acidic basic nature. Is the solution acidic or basic? How do you ascertain this? You must have observed that the red litmus turns blue. So oxide of magnesium is also basic in nature. In general, metallic oxides are basic in nature. So metallic oxides are basic in nature. Okay. Oxides of magnesium is therefore basic in nature. Let us now observe the reaction of non-metals with oxygen. So what will happen when non-metal react with oxygen? The name of product formed in the reaction of sulfur and oxygen is sulfur dioxide gas. So the reaction, because sulfur is oxygen, two molecules of oxygen will combine with one molecules of sulfur to form sulfur dioxide, like CO2, carbon dioxide. For sulfur also SO2. So the name of products formed in the reaction of sulfur and oxygen is sulfur dioxide gas. When sulfur dioxide is dissolved in water, sulfurous acid is formed. The reaction can be given as follows. So sulfur dioxide gas, when dissolved in water, sulfurous acid is formed. The sulfurous acid turns blue litmus paper red because it is acidic. So it turns blue litmus to red. This is the basic property of acid, to turn blue litmus paper to red. Generally, oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. So oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature, and oxides of metals were basic in nature. So that is the difference. Okay. Recall the name of some of the laboratory acids and bases you have read in class 7. Note down their names in table 4.4. Identify the metals or non-metals present in them which forms oxides with oxygen. So some activity it has asked. So reaction with water. So metal also react with water. Non-metal can also react with water. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with water. How it react? Now we will read that. Let's see this highlighted part. Sodium metal is very reactive. It reacts vigorously with oxygen and water. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction. It is therefore stored in kerosene. So sodium is stored in kerosene because in water it reacts, and it reacts very fast in water. Now here you observe that sodium reacts vigorously with water. Some other metals do not do so. For example, iron reacts with water slowly. Okay, iron reacts with water but very slowly. Generally, non-metals do not react with water, though they may be very reactive in air. Generally, non-metal do not react with water. Generally do not react, but in some cases they can show something, some changes. But they may be reactive in air. They are reactive in air. Such non-metals are stored in water. So non-metal which can be reactive in air are stored in water. For example, phosphorus. Phosphorus react in air. So it is kept in water. So here it says, for example, phosphorus is very reactive non-metal. It catches fire if exposed to air. To prevent the contact of phosphorus with atmospheric oxygen, it is stored in water. Because phosphorus is highly reactive non-metal, it reacts vigorously in air with oxygen, so it is stored in water. Now reactions with acids. Now reactions of metal and non-metals with acid. It means that. So let us see how metals and non-metals behave with acids. Is there a difference in the way metals and non-metals react with acids? Yes, it will be different. What could the pop sound in some cases be due to when a burning matchstick is brought near the mouth of the test tubes? You must have found that non-metals generally do not react with acids, but metals react with acids and produce hydrogen gas and burns with a pop sound. So when metal react with acid, it produces hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas can be burned, so it catches fire. With a pop sound, it bursts. When hydrogen bubbles or hydrogen gas is moving out, then some matchstick if brought near to it will produce pop sound because hydrogen gas is burnt. You must have noticed that copper does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid even on heating, but it reacts with sulfuric acid. So we have noticed that copper does not react with dilute hydrochloric acid, okay, but it reacts with sulfuric acid. What does the pop sound indicates? As before, the pop sound indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. This can be one line question. So what is the pop sound? When metal react with acids and the gas is burned. So if the gas is burned and produces a pop sound, it indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. So metal react with sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas. So when we burn it, it will give a pop sound and it shows the presence of hydrogen gas. Reaction of non-metal with bases are complex. So displacement reaction. Displacement reaction means some metal will displace the other from the metallic compound. Okay. We will see the example. Like if it is CuSO4 here and zinc. So zinc will displace Cu and form ZnSO4. Okay, this means that. So this is the example of displacement reaction. You can see the topic here or the figure name here, displacement reaction. So zinc actually displaces copper and take its place to form ZnSO4. It means that. Recall the activity of reaction between copper sulfate and iron that you performed in class 7. Let us observe some more reaction of that kind. What changes? See here, what I was saying is here. So ZnSO4 and copper was displaced. So zinc replaced copper and combined with SO4. What changes do you observe in the various beakers? You have read that one metal displaces another metal from its compound in aqueous solution. In beaker A, zinc Zn replaces copper from copper sulfate, CuSO4. That is why the blue color of copper sulfate disappears and a powdery red mass of copper is deposited at the bottom of the beaker. The reaction can be represented as follows. This reaction you have to know. CuSO4 plus Zn giving ZnSO4 plus copper. So you can write it. This can be asked, or you have to write the displacement reaction example by giving this example. You can write down the reaction taking place in beaker B in a similar manner. So there are few more beakers kept in the activity sheets. Similar type of displacement reaction will take place. There could have been displacement of zinc by copper in beaker C and by iron in beaker E. Similarly, iron could be displaced by copper in beaker D. So one metal will replace the other metal or displaces the other metal and combines with the compound and combine to form the compound. So since we do not see any change in beaker C, we can infer that copper is not able to replace zinc from zinc sulfate. So copper is not able to displace zinc. But why? When zinc can replace copper in beaker A, why cannot copper replace zinc in beaker C? So zinc can replace copper, but copper cannot replace zinc. Remember that science is not arbitrary. It follows definite rules based on facts. And the rule here is that zinc is more reactive than copper and iron. Because zinc is more reactive than copper, so it will combine with SO4 to form the compound, and the copper or iron cannot replace zinc from that compound. A more reactive metal can replace a less reactive metal, but a less reactive metal cannot replace, but a less reactive one cannot replace a more reactive metal. Now you can understand why there are no displacement reactions in beakers D and E also. So there was no displacement reaction happening in the above two beakers D and E, because more reactive metals can only replace the less reactive metals. The less reactive metals cannot replace the high reactive metals. Can you guess the sequence of metals from more reactive to less reactive among zinc, iron and copper? Zinc is more reactive, followed by copper and then iron. Clear? So uses of metals and non-metals. You should be able to guess why metals are used in making machinery. Automobiles, aeroplanes, trains, satellite, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. You are also familiar with the uses of some non-metals. Here are some interesting ones. Okay. Once again you can see uses of metals and non-metals. You should be able to guess why metals are used in making machinery. Automobiles, aeroplanes, trains, satellites, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. You are also familiar with the uses of some non-metals. Here are some interesting one. We are sure that you will guess them right. So non-metal is essential for our life, which all living beings inhale during breathing. So we take oxygen or air. So air contains oxygen. So that is a non-metal. Non-metal is essential for our life, which all living beings inhale during breathing. So it is important. Non-metals used in fertilizers to enhance the growth of plants. It can be used as fertilizers. Non-metals can be used as fertilizers. Non-metals used in water purification process. So chlorine is very commonly used to purify water. Non-metal used in the purple colored solution which is applied on wounds as an antiseptic. So it is non-metal which is applied as antiseptic, okay, on the wounds or cut marks on the skin. So non-metals used in crackers also. So crackers we use non-metal. Non-metals are used in crackers. You may add some more uses of metals and non-metals from your experiences. Now we can see the day-to-day activity also. Table, chair made of metals, non-metals, and what are the utensils are made up of for cooking, wiring we see. So many examples are there, or tools that we use, common tools at homes we use. So those are made up of, some are made up of metals and some are made up of non-metals.
Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.